Welcome to Action Recap, the place where we break down your favorite action movies, fast, thrilling, and spoiler-packed. Hit subscribe and let's dive into the action. Stephanie Plum is a woman whose life has recently taken a sharp turn for the worse. Once married, she is now divorced, jobless, and struggling to make ends meet in her hometown of Trenton, New Jersey. She lives alone in a small apartment with her hamster, Rex, and finds herself sinking under the weight of overdue bills and maxed-out credit cards. Her car has been repossessed, her refrigerator is nearly empty, and her sense of pride is fading fast. She tries to find work wherever she can, but with few skills and no luck, she is forced to consider less conventional ways of earning money. Desperation leads her to her cousin Vinny's bail bonds business, a small office that handles fugitives who skip bail. Although she has no background in law enforcement or private investigation, she convinces Vinny, through persistence and a bit of family guilt, to give her a chance as a recovery agent, a bounty hunter. The job seems simple enough in theory: track down people who have failed to appear in court, bring them back, and collect a fee. Stephanie figures it can't be too hard, but she quickly learns that the job demands courage, skill, and a thick skin, none of which she possesses in abundance. Her first assignment is as daunting as it is personal. The top case on the books is Joe Morelli, a former cop accused of murder who has skipped bail. The name immediately hits her like a punch. Joe Morelli is not just another fugitive but the man who stole her heart and humiliated her years ago. They have a complicated history that dates back to high school, when he charmed her into a romantic encounter in a bakery and later bragged about it to everyone in town. That betrayal left her angry and embarrassed, but it also ensured that she would never forget him. Now, years later, she sees a chance to turn the tables by capturing him for a hefty payday. The bond on Morelli is high, and bringing him in would solve her financial problems for months. Fueled by the desire for revenge and the need for money, she decides to go after him herself, despite the clear danger and the skepticism of everyone around her. Stephanie's first few days on the job are chaotic and full of mistakes. She has no idea how to use a gun, track a suspect, or handle confrontations. Her attempts to look tough and professional only result in a series of comedic mishaps, from accidentally discharging her weapon to losing track of leads. She gets some basic advice from Connie, Vinny's street-smart secretary, who tells her that bounty hunting is all about persistence and guts. But it is another bounty hunter, the mysterious and capable Ranger, who becomes an unlikely mentor. Ranger is smooth, confident, and highly skilled, a man who knows the streets and the game better than anyone. He teaches her the basics: how to handle herself in dangerous situations, how to use pepper spray and handcuffs, and most importantly, how to read people. Although Stephanie feels intimidated by him, she also admires his confidence and sense of control. Ranger warns her that going after Joe Morelli is risky business, not just because of his police training, but because the charges against him involve a serious murder case. Still, Stephanie insists she can handle it. As she begins her pursuit, Stephanie starts gathering information about Morelli's whereabouts. She questions people who knew him, drives through rough neighborhoods, and keeps her eyes open for any trace of him. The investigation brings her face to face with a darker side of Trenton she has never seen before, a world of drug dealers, prostitutes, and criminals who operate under the surface of everyday life. She learns that Morelli has been accused of killing a man named Ziggy Kalesha during an undercover operation gone wrong. However, there are rumors that the situation was more complicated than it seems. The alleged victim was connected to illegal activities, and some believe Morelli was framed or caught in a setup. Stephanie becomes intrigued by the inconsistencies and begins to suspect that Joe might not be the villain she has been led to believe. Her encounters with Morelli are filled with tension and humor. He manages to stay one step ahead of her, teasing her every time they meet. On one occasion, she corners him in his apartment, but he disarms her with ease and escapes. On another, he shows up at her place to warn her that she's in over her head. The chemistry between them, long buried under resentment, begins to resurface. Stephanie finds herself conflicted. She wants to catch him and collect the money, but she also starts to believe his story that he's innocent. Joe insists that he was framed and that the real killer is still out there. Despite her stubbornness, she begins to trust him enough to listen, even if she doesn't admit it out loud. As Stephanie digs deeper into the case, she starts connecting clues that link the murder to a larger criminal operation involving illegal weapons and drugs. Her inexperience makes her vulnerable, and she finds herself in several dangerous situations. In one particularly intense moment, she is cornered by a violent suspect, but with Ranger's earlier lessons and her own quick thinking, she manages to escape unharmed. Each brush with danger makes her more determined to see the case through. She also begins to develop a sense of pride in her new job. Despite all the bruises and mistakes, she's learning how to survive and adapt. Meanwhile, her personal life continues to add chaos. Her mother constantly nags her to find a proper job and settle down, her grandmother is unpredictable and wild, and her father tries to stay out of the constant family drama. Stephanie's home life provides comic relief, especially in scenes where her grandmother, a lively woman who refuses to act her age, gets involved in her escapades, much to the horror of Stephanie's mother. Through all the chaos, Stephanie maintains her humor, using sarcasm and stubborn optimism to keep herself moving forward. Her interactions with Ranger grow increasingly complex. Though he remains mysterious, he shows genuine concern for her safety and respects her determination. Stephanie senses that he sees potential in her that even she doesn't recognize yet. He provides backup when she needs it, helps her get out of trouble, and occasionally saves her life. Their relationship carries an undercurrent of flirtation, but it remains professional and distant enough to keep her focus on her mission, and on Morelli. As the investigation unfolds, Stephanie begins to uncover crucial information that points to a man named Benito Ramirez, a dangerous and violent boxer with a reputation for cruelty. Ramirez becomes obsessed with Stephanie after a brief encounter, and his attention turns threatening. She realizes that he may be connected to the criminal network surrounding the murder case. The tension escalates as Ramirez begins stalking her, calling her, and eventually attacking her. These encounters are terrifying and remind Stephanie of how unprepared she truly is for the world she has stepped into. Nevertheless, she refuses to back down. Her determination to prove herself, coupled with her growing sense of justice, keeps her on the hunt. In the aftermath, Morelli's name is cleared, and Stephanie collects enough of a reward to get back on her feet. The tension between her and Joe remains unresolved. There's still chemistry, still humor, still that push-and-pull dynamic that suggests their story isn't over. Though they part ways with mutual respect, it's clear that they share an undeniable connection that may draw them together again. Stephanie realizes that bounty hunting, as crazy and unpredictable as it is, gives her something she had been missing, a sense of purpose, excitement, and confidence. Despite all the mishaps and danger, she finds herself hooked on the thrill of the chase. The story closes with Stephanie more self-assured and independent than she was at the beginning.